In this video, we're learning about the French aperitif, Lillet.
This is a masterclass discussing the history of Lillet and the 3 different aromatized wines in this amazing portfolio.
Stay tuned, we'll also be making 2 modern cocktails with the Lillet Blanc.
We are Teakwood Tavern Hospitality, educating minds and palates on spirits, wine, and food.
What is Lillet?
Lillet is a type of aperitif called a quinquina.
What is an aperitif?
An aperitif is an alcoholic beverage meant to take in prior to your meal to help stimulate your appetite.
Well, then what is quinquina?
A quinquina is an aromatized wine that contains quinine.
And quinine is a bittering agent from the bark tree of the Peruvian cinchona tree, which is also known as quinquina.
Quinine helps treat malaria. Back when Lillet was invented, it acted as a muscle relaxant and improved symptoms. Now we know it stops the reproduction of the malaria parasite within red blood cells.
The British had been adding quinine to their tonic since the country was already enjoying gin and tonics. The French responded by adding quinine to their aromatized wines, forming the quinquina.
Think of it as a cousin to vermouth that is slightly more bitter.
Other notable quinquinas are Bonal, Burr, and Dubonnet. The Lillet brothers, Paul and Raymond, founded the Maison Lillet in 1872. They previously worked as wine merchants in Bordeaux.
Bordeaux was already seen as an epicenter of wine production around the world, as well as France's key harbor for the Americas.
Their father, Clermont, was both a monk and a doctor. Now, given those 2 professions at that time, naturally he played with his own liqueurs and fortifiers.
Clermont took a trip to Brazil in 1887 and learned more about the quinquina plant.
He came back with the idea of a kina aperitif, or tonic wine, and began adding that to his elixirs, which his sons then found a market for.
To this day, Lillet has been produced in its original location of Pudensac, which is a region in Graves. Quina Lillet was launched in 1895 as an aromatic wine with a healthy dose of quinine.
It quickly became popular to drink on its own and became known as the aperitif of Bordeaux.
As cocktail bars sprung up around Europe in the early 1900s, mixologists began playing with it in cocktails.
Quina Lillet was specifically called for in many classic pre-Prohibition cocktails, like one of our favorites, the Court Survivor No. 2.
Quina Lillet was made especially famous in the U.S. market by the Vesper Martini in 1953's Casino Royale. James Bond ordered his favorite drink specifically with Quina Lillet, along with gin and vodka. The Maison Lillet Company was sold in 1985 to the Bory family, who already owned many of Bordeaux's chateaux.
Bruno Bory led the initiative and invested in the production facilities.
He kept the well-branded Lillet name, but relaunched in 1986, making a few changes to adapt to current palates.
He discontinued the flagship Quina Lillet. The name Quina had become a generic term and really didn't add anything to differentiate the brand.
Lillet Blanc became its replacement, and the recipe saw a reduction in quinine to reduce bitterness, as well as make for a lighter, fruitier aperitif.
Lillet Blanc is the best substitute for any classic cocktail, calling for Quina Lillet.
Taking over as the flagship product, this gem brings flavors of candied orange, honey, pine resin, and tropical fruit.
This pale straw aperitif is made from 80% Semillon, 15% Sauvignon Blanc, and 5% Muscadel grapes.
The wine is aged for a full year in oak casks.
It is fortified with citrus liqueurs made from sweet oranges from Valencia, green oranges from Morocco and Tunisia, and bitter oranges from Haiti.
Lillet came out with Lillet Rouge in 1962 to take advantage of the U.S.'s market demand for sweet vermouth.
This Rouge quinquina brings in flavors of fresh oranges, berries, vanilla, and delicate spices.
Lillet Rouge is made from 80% Merlot, 15% Cabernet Sauvignon, and 5% Cabernet Franc grapes, along with the same liqueurs and cinchona bark as Lillet Blanc.
Born in 2012, Lillet Rose is slightly sweeter than Lillet Blanc and showcases flavors of berry, orange blossom, and grapefruit.
This aperitif is delicious on its own or as a replacement for a Blanc or Rouge vermouth in your favorite cocktail recipe.
It's made from a mix of grapes from the other two Lillets that we previously discussed, like Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Semillon. Plus, it uses the same base liqueurs to fortify the wine.
Can you say Lillet Rose all day 3 times fast?
Let's make a great Northern. The tools that you'll need to make this cocktail are a shaker, a strainer, we're using a Hawthorne strainer, jigger, because it's always important to measure out your quantities, and since this has fresh lemon juice, we're using a lemon press.
Let's get into it. First, we have 2 ounces of Aquavit, this amazing Scandinavian liqueur. It's a neutral spirit that's distilled from either grain or potatoes. It brings in flavors of caraway, dill, and anise. Also be using a 3/4 ounce of Lillet Blanc, our beloved French quinquina. It brings in lovely flavors of citrus and tropical fruit, and then it has a touch of sweetness. Then our Cointreau, the original triple sec, a 170-year-old French orange liqueur, house favorite here. And John's, go for the honey syrup, 1/2 ounce of that. Teakwood Tavern recipe, 100 grams of honey to 64 grams of water. Want to make sure you add that water so the honey properly mixes in with the drink. And then our freshly squeezed lemon juice, we have 3/4 ounce of that. Citrus does have a tendency to turn in 6 to 8 hours, so definitely want to make sure it is fresh when you are using it in your craft cocktails. And then since this is a drink with honey syrup and especially the citrus, you want to make sure you shake it and give a nice frothiness so it emulsifies them together. 12 shakes is a good amount to properly dilute your drink, chill it, but not water it down. All very important aspects of cocktail making. And then he's going to pour it in this lovely chilled coupe glass. Do love our coupe glasses around here. They're just so beautiful and fun to drink out of. Look at that. There you have it. Great Northern. Cheers. All right, let's make a Harvest Moon. First, for your tools, you need a mixing glass and a stirring spoon, a jigger or some way to measure out your ingredients, a julep strainer, and I guess a straw.
For the actual recipe, we're going to begin with 1.5 ounces of rye. We are using Rittenhouse rye, which is a house favorite here. Just an incredible quality rye, high proof, lovely, lovely product. So 1.5 ounces of that. 1 ounce 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 of that. Next we go into our Lillet Blanc, which is an ounce here. This is our beloved French quinquina. It has flavors of citrus and tropical fruit with a touch of sweetness. Then we have our Calvados. This is going to be half an ounce. Now, Calvados is an apple brandy from Normandy, France. If you can't find Calvados, you can substitute Laird's Applejack, which is an apple brandy here from the US, but we do love our Calvados, and that's what the original recipe calls for. Then we have chartreuse, green chartreuse, a quarter ounce of this. Now, chartreuse is from the Chartreuse Order of the Cloistered Monks in France. It's a secret recipe that hails back to 1764 of 130 different spices, flowers, and herbs. Then we have our Angostura bitters. We're going to go 3 dashes of Angostura. Now, the PDT recipe says to use Bob Abbott bitters, and if you can find it, it's wonderful. We have a hard time finding that, so we're going with Angostura. It still makes a great drink. We do love the Caribbean flavors that come since Angostura is from Trinidad and Tobago. Now, Shen is going to stir this. About 20 seconds of stirring will give you a nice chilled drink, nice dilution, everything you want. Now, she does have a glass that is being chilled. It already has a giant ice cube in it, and you'll see that shortly. Now, she'll take her julep strainer, strain this lovely Harvest Moon over that beautiful big round ice cube. Last but not least, a lovely garnish, dehydrated clementine. Then the straw, and there you have it, Harvest Moon. Cheers. We hope you enjoyed learning about Lillet, the French quinquina.
If you like reading about wine and spirits, head to tequatavern.com where we post articles about topics like Lillet.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe here.
If you'd like to see another video just like this one, please click here.